Is it okay for the church to get involved in the public arena? Should Christians be actively involved in the free elections of the United States of America? Faith Wins is an organization dedicated to engaging pastors, congregations, and Christians in the public arena. Why, you may ask? Because the influence of Christians needs to be felt around this country. Jesus is the solution, and we need to bring biblical solutions to the marketplace of ideas before it's too late, and we need to do it now. There are over 80 million eligible Christian voters in this country, but only 30 million regularly participate in the elections. This needs to change, and Chad Connelly is going to tell you why in just a minute. Check us out online at faithwins.us. That's faithwins.us. When we sit on the sidelines and hope for a better future, the enemy wins. When we mobilize, register, and make our voices heard, faith wins every time. Hey, welcome to the Faith Wins podcast. I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg, and I'm joined today by the founder of Faith Wins, Chad Connelly. Chad Connelly, wow, these are exciting times, aren't they?
Exciting, exhilarating, challenging, curious. It's an interesting time, that's for sure, brother.
So you and Faith Wins, you do a lot of tracking. You do a lot of, let's just call it metrics. You're tracking a lot of metrics for the stuff that you're doing. Why are metrics so important to what Faith Wins does on a day-to-day basis?
You know, honestly, if you don't measure it, you really hadn't done it, right? And to do something and talk about it's one thing, but to be able to prove it's another. In the world of politics, and I've sat in rooms at the highest levels, everybody wants to have proof. And I really think one reason the Christian community probably hasn't gotten some of the policies done we really wanted is because the political people aren't interested in tracking us. I sat in the RNC meetings. I will testify under oath that most of the political people I've been around do not want your Christian voice. They want your vote. And so to impose our voices, we need our votes first, but we got to be able to measure it. They would rather go after low propensity voters and say, look who we found. I'd rather build a relationship with a pastor and find 100 or 1,000 and then have that pastor influence his pastors, and pastors become multipliers and do it through the relationship, not because they were data tracked by the party. And when I'm talking about metrics, I'm measuring everything right now. I know this past week, I was in 4 states in 3 days in 6 different cities, all battleground states. We met with and had meetings with 157 pastors that weren't on my radar, who all agreed to do voter registration. And I averaged $8.55 per head buying meals. That's breakfast, coffees, or lunches in those 6 meetings. Because some churches, they cooked for us. They were so energetic. They cooked, unbelievable meals. Other places, I had Jimmy John's delivered. I had Chick-fil-A delivered. We want to be good stewards of our donors' money, but we even track that. We want to see, what are we spending per head? But also the thing we really want to track is how many voters did you register? And so that's important because on the backside, once you know the city and the state, then you know where you added numbers and people can see evangelical Christians' impact. So I'll give you an example. Okay. I don't need to know that Jim and Martha registered to vote. Don't need to know that. What I do know is that 2 people at First Baptist Church in Tampa, Florida registered. That's what I need to know. So when I'm asking pastors to measure it, and we're going to do that through emails, text messages, it'll look like an app. And we're also going to follow with phone calls. So far, here we are, early August, 552 churches that I know of that we've spoken to have already done voter registration. I'll give you an example. A guy with a church in North Carolina of about 2,000 had never done it. And so when he started coming back from the COVID, he's registered 122 people so far, Jim. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I was in Michigan last week. I met pastors. I'd say about 15 to 20% of the pastors have done voter registration. This was a smaller church. The guy registered 21. He was fired up. A buddy of mine in South Carolina had never done it before. He's registered 22 so far. And the church I was in yesterday had never done it before. Never. They said, hey, you ought to go vote. They'd never done it before, 41. And so I'm getting those kind of numbers. One guy has turned in 5. One guy's turned in over 200. And so I just want to scoop up and make sure every Christian voter is registered to vote. Because if you don't register, you can't vote. If you can't vote, your voice don't count. That's why we did that myvoice2020.org. We wanted it to count.
All right, let's go back to this voice comment. Right at the beginning of the podcast, you said this voice comment. It kind of irritated me, and I want to understand it. You said the political parties want our vote. They don't want our voice, but you want our voice to count.
Yes.
Explain this to us.
So I'll give you an example. When I started working for the Republican National Committee, I wanted to do some emails. And of course, the bureaucracy, even within the RNC, for getting an email approved was ridiculous. I had to have 13 people approve my emails. So me and my buddy that I hired to do my East State, he helped me write them, and he pulled it directly from the platform language. It was pretty blasé, right? Pretty. It was pro-life. And I said, hey, send this out to the identified social conservatives that we have. And I probably shouldn't give numbers, but they had millions on their house file of the people that they knew were Republican voters. And so I was speaking in a state party meeting that weekend, and I said, hey, I sent out our first email. This is, I don't know, fall of 2013. And how many of y'all got my email? Because I'm in this red state. I'm in a Republican meeting. There are 97 people there. Out of 97, one person got my email. And I thought, that's really low. Maybe they don't check their email as much as I do. And my Eastern director said, did you get your copy? I said, no, I didn't. So a couple days later goes by, and I realized I didn't even get a copy of the own email. They didn't put me on the list. I had assumed the Republican National Committee had tracked me as a social conservative. So I called the data guy. I said, hey, man, let me give you an example of somebody. You got a pretty good list of social conservatives. Oh, yeah, really good, really good. Okay, let me give you an example. Here's somebody who's never missed a Republican vote since 1980. Never missed a Republican primary vote, 1980. They've been a state party chairman. They're on 2 pro-life boards in their state. Do you think you have them on the list? He said, absolutely. I said, I'm not on it. You hear that? I was running GOP Faith, and I wasn't on my own list. So then we salted the list with some fake emails to see when they were sending stuff out. And of course, we put our real emails on there too. But then I started asking, how many social conservatives has the RNC pegged? And I won't give you the number. It was embarrassingly low. But it was less than 0.01% of the House file.
So this all goes to this voice thing you were talking about. So
yes.
They want our vote. They don't want our
yes.
vote. What are they afraid of? Why are they afraid of our voice?
I don't think that they want to tag you as a pro-life person or a pro-gun, or maybe they'll tag pro-gun or a pro-marriage person. Leave those social issues out. We as Christians know those are invaluable. You have to include those. They just didn't spend the money to say Jim Brangenberg's a pro-life voter. They know you're a conservative voter, but I doubt they have you pegged as a pro-life. They just didn't spend the money to do it. I forced it. I made them start tagging those people. But it just showed me when a congressman or senator sits down with them, they're going to say, well, how many social conservatives in my state? And they're going to give this terribly low number that's not accurate. It's absolutely not accurate. Now, I think they're much better now, and I'll take some credit for that. I browbeat them, and Reince Priebus was a big part of helping me. And there were some Christians in the digital and data department then that were really helpful for that. But it just showed me, man, some of the people in these campaigns, they don't want to know that you're a Christian voice. They want you to vote, but they're not going to tag you in their list as that's a Christian conservative. Faith Wins wants to do that because I want to impose and push Christian conservative policies throughout government. That's how we get it done.
So those metrics all help us do that. And that's really the point. You finally got to where I was going. It's like you want to track the voice, the voters connected to the voice, so that when somebody gets elected, we say, listen, these people helped get you elected, buddy.
Exactly right.
And so this has got to change. I mean, but they're going to know that because they're going to hear from those people. I mean, that's
my plan.
The power of that's your plan. All right. So talk about what kind of impact does tracking these metrics have on the mission, the strategic operation of Faith Wins?
Well, my team is reporting numbers every week. I have a political director that's been my friend for 30-something years. He's been in politics for 20. He's just the person I trust. He's making a weekly phone call to everybody on our team. I think we have 14 people now working with Faith Wins in the various states, and they're just pulling in all the numbers they can. The impact it has is we get a little competition going. People want to get their numbers up, and it lets them know, man, I got to be calling pastors and making sure they're executing what they committed to. And I just want people committed. What do they say? Bacon and eggs is chicken and pigs, right? The chicken's involved, but the pig's committed. And man, I don't want them to volunteer for bacon, but I want them committed. Man, do a voter registration. And then when we email you or text you, and it doesn't have to be a perfect number. If you had 47 and you report 45, that's okay with me. But here's what I learned on this, Jim. I can't find anybody on our side who's ever measured this. They talk about it, they promote it, they put it on radio, TV, they put it in magazines. I cannot find an organization in America who's ever measured this. I've asked them and I've sat with them. And so that's why my goal became Faith Wins is going to have the most robust, most accurately measured evangelical voter registration drive ever done in all of American political history. That's my goal. Now, look, the COVID certainly has squeezed this down. It's made our job harder. Some of these churches aren't back hardly, or they're back partially. So we got, a few more weeks left that we can get voter registration drives, 6 or 7 weeks, that we can get voter registration drives done. And then we'll spend the end of September and into October making sure they turn in those numbers so we get them reported.
So what's it going to take? You've got some opportunities to share in front of large crowds. You've been on some radio shows. What's it going to take for you to get you on the big daddy of all conservative radio shows? Can we? Rush Limbaugh literally lives 3 hours from me. Do I need to run over and knock on his door and say, you need Chad Connelly on the show? Guys like Sean Hannity, guys that are pounding this stuff every day. What's it going to take to get the message of Faith Wins out there to everybody?
I'll just say we're working on it.
I love that. Okay. My voice.
Look, I believe with all my heart, I told you I was an eternal optimist. We're going to get that done because this word needs to be shared. I appreciate you so much. These podcasts are going to be so helpful for people. I just want to encourage and inspire people. I told the pastors the other day, I'm not here to motivate you. Motivation is like bathing. You got to do it again. But if I can inspire you and encourage you and provide free tools, then I'm going to expect you to follow through too and do your part.
So, and a lot of that goes right to the website you've set up for this year, myvoice2020.org, myvoice2020.org. The resources are also on faithwins.us, but on myvoice2020.org, tell our listeners what's out there for them and their pastors.
Well, first thing is you can go do online voter registration if it's allowed in your state, and lots of states have that. So you can go do it right now. But the other part about it is we just want to make it easy, right? The other part for the pastor's toolkit is the links for every state, all 50 states. We'll even have voter guides. You can compare and contrast candidates on how they feel about issues. And we just want to make all those tools available. How to do voter registration, the forms you need, how do you turn them in? Every bit of that is in the pastor's toolkit at that myvoice2020.org.
Wow. We got to get this done. Chad Connelly, it's always exciting. Talk about any other metrics you want to throw out our way to give us some encouragement. I mean, give us some encouragement, some more encouragement before we go today. You got anything left in your pocket?
Oh, man, of course I do. I ran into a pastor the other day, and here's what he said. I was actually in your state, and he had never done voter registration. He got the call to the pastorate at later on in life. He'd been in the military. He said, Chad, I can't do what you do. I don't have the connections. You tell me how to help. Let me know what to do to help you pull in these numbers and talk to these pastors. So we're going to be in your state. We'll be announcing dates real soon. And here's what I want to tell you about that. That pastor who I met outside of Orlando, I've had at least one, maybe 5 or 10 in every single state I've been in. The volunteerism, the stepping forward, the leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership. The people that are stepping forward to say, sign me up, how do I help, has been so encouraging. And I've got lots of great stories I'll be sharing. Doing the Huckabee show this weekend. We'll be putting that out there and a whole lot more to come, buddy.
Well, I got to tell you, let me give you one metric. So we're in a small group, 3 couples. I bring up faithwins.us on Sunday night at our small group. And I said, listen, I'm going to approach our pastor about doing a voter registration, but I need volunteers. Who will volunteer? I had 100% volunteerism in our small group. So that's the kind of thing. It's super easy. People were super excited about the mission of faithwins.us. Chad Connelly, thank you so much for your enthusiasm for our country and for what faithwins.us is doing.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate y'all.
And make sure you guys also check out myvoice2020.org. Get that to your pastor, myvoice2020.org. And remember that when you register to vote, and then you vote with biblical values, faith wins. Hey, thanks for listening to the Faith Wins podcast with Faith Wins founder, Chad Connelly. I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg, and I want to ask you to check out Faith Wins online at faithwins.us. That's faithwins.us. Your vote is needed and necessary, and we all need to learn to engage in our system of free elections right here in the United States of America. If you're not registered to vote, please take time to do so on your local county voter registration website and do it today. In an upcoming election, vote for candidates supporting biblical values and a biblical worldview. Until next time, remember, when Christians engage in the public arena, faith wins.